A director remaking his own film isn't unheard of, whether it be to adapt it into a more broader audience, fix up creative or technical limitations, or expand upon the original story. And that's the case for the Japanese film The Burmese Harp. Based on the 1946 children's novel, the 1956 adaptation was directed by Kon Ichikawa and written by his wife, Nato Wada. Ichikawa had directed 26 features, and wasn't a popular director in his home country before receiving acclaim from this feature. The story is set towards the end of World War II, as we follow Matsushima, an acclaimed harp player. After a failed negotiation and getting severely wounded from the crossfire, he was miraculously healed by a monk. Now disguised as a monk, he returns to camp to find that many of his comrades died, and decides to dedicate his time burying them. The novel was acclaimed for its humanistic approach to communicate the suffering of the Japanese people after World War II. With approval from the original author, work had begun to make the film into, in their words, a very realistic drama about the front line in Burma. Originally intended to shoot in color, because he wanted to shoot in Burma as well, and with how expensive and bulky these cameras were, he was only limited to shooting in black and white. Even still, he was restricted to just shoot in Japan, so he had to figure out ways to convey the heat of the tropical land on film. Nevertheless, the Burmese Harp would go on to be Ichikawa's biggest success. The film would be acclaimed locally and internationally, with the film receiving a nomination at the Oscars. However, Ichikawa would still face issues after the release. The film would be released in 2 parts in Japanese cinemas, and when it got its international release, it was cut down to just 116 minutes, which reportedly he was not happy about. Around 30 years later, with Ichikawa achieving further acclaim from his other films, he would direct The Burmese Harp, a remake of his 1956 film. Now, there's not a lot of information about this besides it being a shot-for-shot color remake. In fact, this remake is incredibly hard to find online and not as easily accessible unlike the original. Ichikawa never explained why he remade his own film, but I do have some ideas. Firstly, he finally got the opportunity to not only shoot this in color, but secondly, this version's runtime was untampered from studio heads. And lastly, this is the last screenplay written by his wife before her passing in 1983, and the original author of the book would pass away shortly after. It must be a satisfying feeling for Ichikawa to put out a version of the story he wanted to adapt for so long, even after he had already made the film.